Thank you very much, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, I wish to lay before this House the following. Whereas the right to security and the right to life are fundamental human rights enshrined in the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, and whereas the people of Trinidad and Tobago are currently facing a state of emergency due to escalating levels of crime and violence, with Tobago experiencing a significant increase in criminal activity, which has disrupted the island's customary peace and safety, and whereas national security is listed in the 6th schedule of the Tobago House of Assembly Act number 40 of 1996 as a matter over which the Assembly, in quotation, the Assembly shall have no responsibility, and whereas the Tobago House of Assembly, despite not being responsible for formulating or implementing policy on national security, has nonetheless provided resources to assist with national security matters in Tobago, and whereas the Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996 encourages mutual consultation and collaboration with the central government through mechanisms embedded in sections 26, 31, and 37, and whereas the central government has not allotted sufficient resources for national security on the island of Tobago, thereby compromising the safety and security of its residents and adversely affecting the island's tourism industry, business environment, and overall well-being, be it resolved that this House, as a matter of urgency, mandates the Chief Secretary to call for a meeting with the Minister of National Security to immediately establish a memorandum of understanding pursuant to Section 26 of the Tobago House of Assembly Act, aimed at devising proper and effective strategies for national security in Tobago, and be it further resolved that this House calls on the central government to urgently increase the allocation of resources to Tobago for the maintenance, upgrade, and modernization of its national security infrastructure, including personnel, equipment, facilities, and technology tailored to the island's unique needs. Madam Presiding Officer, Trinidad and Tobago is currently in a state of emergency. When we met last year and we extended Christmas greetings and well wishes to the people of Trinidad and Tobago and all of the high office holders in this country, we did not anticipate at that time that we will enter into 2025 with a state of emergency. Let me take this opportunity, as this is our very first sitting in the year 2025, to extend once again New Year greetings and best wishes for 2025 to the people of Tobago and by extension the people of Trinidad and Tobago, including those of our citizens that exist in the diaspora. Madam Presiding Officer, Act 40 of 1996 permits that where the Tobago House of Assembly does not have a responsibility, that the Tobago House of Assembly can in fact enter into a memorandum of understanding with the relevant agency and or ministry from the central government for the execution of those functions on the island of Tobago. When we look at the security concerns in Tobago, when we look at the neglect of Tobago's national security infrastructure, we are left with no choice, Madam Presiding Officer, than to come to this House and to seek the approval of my colleagues to go before the Ministry of National Security and to thereby request that we enter into an MOU to treat with security issues on the island. Prior to this administration, the Auditor General's Department actually flagged the Tobago House of Assembly for spending resources, monetary resources, on national security since it is not a fifth schedule item. And because of that, we have in the space at present, Madam Presiding Officer, very cautious, very reluctant public service when it comes to executing instructions from the executive to actually assist the national security apparatus on the island. It is a challenge I face on almost a monthly basis. We have resorted to a strategy to allow for the legality of our support. We have resorted to a strategy where we ask the varying arms of the national security on the island of Tobago to go looking for whatever service they need and to then write us asking the Tobago House of Assembly to donate, to make a donation towards the provision of these services. And that is so that I can make the public officers, the public accounting officers, comfortable enough to assist the national security apparatus and agenda on the island. But, Madam Presiding Officer, notwithstanding, this administration has spent more than any other administration on national security over the last 3 years. As a matter of fact, what we are experiencing is a situation where the Executive Council from time to time is asked to forego other priorities so that we can pump the monies into the national security apparatus on the island. What we experienced last year, insofar as our murder rate, is unacceptable. And because that is unacceptable, we cannot sit on our hands in Tobago and simply say, well, the law says it is not or it shall not be a responsibility of the Tobago House of Assembly, and so we will do nothing. I prefer to be challenged by an Auditor General on this matter than to see more of our people gunned down in the streets. And so there is a requirement for bold action. When we look at our statistics for the year that ended a few weeks ago, we saw that in 2024, we had 790 serious reported crimes. In 2023, there were 757. In 2024, we had 244 violent crimes. In 2023, there were 247. In 2024, we had 26 murders, most in our history. In 2023, we had 14. In 2024, we had 58 shootings or woundings. In 2023, we had 30. In 2024, we had 79 robberies, and coincidentally, we also had 79 robberies, reported robberies, in 2023. As it relates to fatals, in 2024, we had 10 reported accidents. 2023, we had 7. In 2024, we had 12 fatalities. 2023, we had 7. In 2024, the police recovered 30 firearms. 2023, they recovered 15. When it comes to narcotics, in 2024, Madam Presiding Officer, in Tobago, 299.1 kgs of marijuana was recovered. In 2023, that figure was 103.4 kgs. And in 2024, we had 14.96 kgs recovered of cocaine. And in 2023, we had 0.0838 kgs recovered. It should be noted that for the period 1st to the 20th of January, that Tobago recorded a total of 30 serious reported crimes, and in 2024, for that same period, so this year, January 1st to the 20th, so far we had 30 reported SRCs, or serious reported crimes, and in 2024, for the same period, we had 35. Last year at this time, we already had 2 murders. We are currently at 1. With regards to firearms, so far for 2025, the TTPS has recovered 2 pistols and 55 rounds of 9mm, and those were seized from the streets of Tobago. We ought to note, Madam Presiding Officer, that an increase in firearms and ammunition detection from 38 in 2023 to 69 in 2024 means that we have the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service doing a superior job in recovering firearms and ammunition. And they must be congratulated for that. We must also note that the single largest marijuana bust happened last year at a whopping street value of $42 million. Again, we congratulate the TTPS for that. But, Madam Presiding Officer, while that is happening, we have to be aware that Trinidad and Tobago is experiencing a significant escalation in gang warfare. According to USAID and their report for Eastern and Southern Caribbean with their criminal dynamics study, when we look at the regional report, Trinidad and Tobago, as at 2023, had 186 known gangs with 1,750 membership. That said report, Madam Presiding Officer, is also estimating that in Trinidad and Tobago, 8% of our students, meaning children in school, are involved. 8%. In fact, Madam Presiding Officer, I remember not so long ago recalling an experience I had at the primary school in Golden Lane. And many people were cynical about it. Fast-tracked to about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we saw Senior Superintendent Eli saying to Tobagonians that the trend is actually showing that younger and younger people, people as young as 12 years, and even younger, getting involved with gang warfare. More than that, Madam Presiding Officer, I wish to share some uncomfortable statistics from USAID's report. Now, this USAID report was delivered to my office last year by the outgoing United States Ambassador Candice Bond, one whom received the Hummingbird Gold recently. And in that report, we have some frightening statistics that justifies why today we must take a decision as a House that the Chief Secretary should go and seek to get the Ministry of National Security to enter into an MOU with us for the execution of some of these 6 scheduled items, since we are already doing it. We're already doing it. But we need to formalize it and ensure it fits within the confines of the law. The statistics from this USA report, Madam Presiding Officer, says that in 2009, Tobago had 3 known gangs. In 2012, Tobago had 5 known gangs. In 2014, Tobago had 9 known gangs. In 2019, Tobago had 24 known gangs. And in 2022, Tobago had 28 known gangs, meaning 4 additional between 2019 and 2022. But that's not just alarming on its own. If we should do a comparison with the other districts in Trinidad, we will see a frightening development, Madam Presiding Officer. If we look at Port of Spain, Madam Presiding Officer, Port of Spain, in 2014, while we had 9 gangs, they had 23 gangs. By 2019, while we had 24 gangs on record, from this study, Port of Spain had 41. And then in 2022, while we have 28, Port of Spain is being reported as having 21, meaning that their trajectory is going downwards over the last couple of years, between 2019 and 2022. But if we look at northeastern Tobago, for most of the years, actually we have a higher number of gangs than northeastern division, higher than eastern division, higher than southwestern division, higher than southern. We trend lower than western and Port of Spain for most of those years. Why am I sharing this statistic? I'm sharing it because I desire that the people of Tobago understand that this crime problem that Trinidad and Tobago has is not a foreign problem to us. It exists in our communities. And so this has to be about protecting Tobago communities and Tobago families. But why are we asking the House to approve and to encourage and to mandate the Chief Secretary to have this MOU done? Well, let's take a look at the state of the national security apparatus in Tobago. Madam Presiding Officer, if you go to the Coast Guard operational base, we have one operational base on island that was opened by Lennox Dinoon as chairman of the Tobago House of Assembly. So you could tell how long ago it was open. And not a fix, not an upgrade, not an addition, not anything since that time. Toilets backing up. Sleeping conditions poor. Paint falling off. Coastal erosion. Because the operational base literally exists at the end of a jetty. When we go to the Coast Guard base itself, the Tobago headquarters located at Lower Scarborough, at the end of Calypso Rose Boulevard. I am ashamed to even walk into that place. It is not even fitting to mind swines. But that's where we have our men and women working out of. That same Coast Guard don't have a boat to sail anywhere around the island. And let me give you a practical example of how it is hampering crime fighting on the island. About 4 months ago, some intel was received that they were going to be stealing some vessels, some fishing vessels from out of the Boku area. How do I know? Because I am on the phone with Naval Lieutenant Valentine and trying to get a boat from a civilian for them to use. And after I beg and get a boat, then they say to me, well, we can't sail the boat ourselves because it's a civilian boat. So you have to send the civilian to sail the boat themselves. And so I run home, hunt for a black hoodie for the guy so that he could be masked in some way because he is now being co-opted to be part of a national security response. And then on top of that, after doing all of that, then I'm told, well, we have to get a police officer to join them on the vessel in order to facilitate proper charging. By the time we're trying to organize all of that, the best approach was to just send some police in the Buku area, create a heightened presence so that it could scare away anybody who will want to come and steal a vessel. That is the state of border security on this island, not a vessel. And when I say, look, let me at least rent a boat. It could be any boat. It could be a fishing boat. Maybe they thought I was thinking about a pirogue. Any boat. The ministry said no. And tried to ridicule me. But they won't provide a single vessel for the Coast Guard. Not one. You won't provide. Not one. So how are our fishermen supposed to be safe? How are we supposed to protect our coastline? Who is actually encircling this island? We are an island. We're surrounded by water. Water everywhere. But it's an open sepulchre. And it's almost counterproductive that we are under an SOE. But anything could come in. And that also includes human beings. Because last year, there was a bust here in Tobago where migrants who were illegally here were picked up. Migrants who were part of a forced sex trade were picked up right here in Tobago. And that included children. But our borders are open. And so if the Ministry of National Security won't do the work, then send us the money and let us do it. Because clearly they are incapable of doing it. And then if we go from the Coast Guard and we go up to what we call Army Camp in Signal Hill, I met with the Minister of National Security. The first time I met with him was sometime in either late 2022 or early 2023. He visited there. He was appalled by the state there. I wish Tobagonians could walk through there and see the state that we have our sons and daughters working and living in. It's deplorable. And the Ministry of National Security is doing nothing. I have to go up there with engineer from works, take them away from doing fifth schedule items, carry them up there and say, look, this place got burned down, fix the electrical. I have to go there with the chief and say, look at the mattress that you have. Our Tobagonians sleeping on. Is our people sleeping there? Find mattress and give them. Stationery. I have to be raiding my office sometimes and picking up whatever paper, pen, ink, printer. And then sometimes I'm having to instruct to purchase to give to them. And then on top of that, they don't even have working vehicular assets. So as a strategy, we want to have joint patrols. But I don't know if we're going to do the joint patrol on foot. I don't know if the army is expected to do joint patrol by walking up to Charlottesville and walking down to Crown Point from Signal Hill. Not a vehicle. But the Tobago House Assembly have to step in, have to spend money, have to rent vehicle. And then when the THA trying to rent vehicle, we have people in the space, when they realize it's a joint patrol, saying, me I want my vehicle involved in that. It's a difficult task. But you know what's happening? We are taking it from our fifth schedule items and reprioritizing it for central government business. That's what we are doing. And then when we go to the TTPS, well, they might be a little better. Not Scarborough Station, though. If you look at where officers in Scarborough Station are supposed to spend the night, where they're supposed to stay, horrible. You walk across to the fire station. How long now they're trying to fix it? Fire officers and army officers work together, did the work themselves without being paid, without a contractor, and just bringing it over the edge so they can move back to the Scarborough base. Not even that could happen. We see around this country fire officers falling out of fire trucks. In Tobago, it's questionable whether or not we could really handle any major fire anywhere in any community. Our fire tenders, poor condition. The one ambulance they have, not working. Are we children of a lesser God? Are we second-class citizens? Why are we being treated this way? And therefore, when we come here and we say it is imperative that we do an MOU and we ask the ministry, look, when it comes to some matters with security in Tobago, you, THA, continue to handle it, but now we will give you some budget to do it. Because currently we're doing a whole lot. Using money is prioritized for other areas. When we look at the port, in April of last year, I sat in a meeting at the waterfront in Port of Spain. I was actually ridiculed by Gary Griffiths, former Commissioner of Police, who felt I should not have gone to Trinidad to meet with the minister. But in my mind, he is the Minister of National Security. It is a 6th scheduled item for which he has responsibility. I have a security problem on my island. I don't care where we meet. Right? So I went and I met with him in Port of Spain. And in that meeting, the Port Authority said to us, we are in the process of procuring scanners that can treat with vehicles and can treat with being able to assess travelers in a much more efficient way. We all have experienced it coming off of the port and the occasional police operation trying to go through every vehicle with their dogs, slowing your ability to get out of the port. Not the best first impression you want for an island that earns from domestic tourism. But where are we? That was April last year. Where are we? The port have procured 2 Buster K10G density scanners. This is for vehicles as well. Those 2 scanners are in Tobago, but they are not currently in use, as 50 officers are still to be trained. So they buy two Buster K10G density scanners, but they're not in use because nobody in Tobago is trained to use them yet. Right? The scanners for the arrival hall have been installed, thankfully. Those are the ones for the passengers and the cruise arrivals. The large vehicle scanners are still being procured. So the large vehicle scanners are still being procured. After being told in that meeting that they don't have the space capacity at the port in Port of Spain to put down a large vehicle scanner, so they put one in Tobago. We are approaching a 1 year since that conversation, and we still don't have the scanners in Tobago. And those that were purchased, like the 2 Buster K10G density scanners, they are there, but not in operation, because nobody in Tobago is trained to use it. There is an opportunity cost, Madam Presiding Officer, to the Tobago House of Assembly reprioritizing its resources to treat with some of these national security needs. Although these needs may seem ordinary, simple, they are absolutely necessary. And allow me, Madam President, to give you an example of how the opportunity cost of spending it on national security has impacted our delivery in other areas. In 2022, I came to this house in June, and I said we have to begin work to set up for Tobago a Department of Safety and Security. We did the feasibility. We know what the structure should be. We know where the department should be housed. We know what equipment we need to purchase for the department. We know what work they can do as per the 5th schedule of Act 40 of 1996. But the monies that we have budgeted to do that, we are now taking it to get vehicles, to buy bed, to buy printer, to send materials and workers down by the prison to fix it up, to be able to do electrical work, to do all sorts of things. So when we should be spending that money to develop our own Department of Safety and Security, we are spending it on the 6th scheduled item for which the law says we shall not have a responsibility. That cannot be fair to us. And that is not a sustainable way for us to manage the security needs on the island of Tobago. It is not the most efficient way to manage that, Madam Presiding Officer. We can't have a situation where the Tobago House of Assembly in the past have procured assets. The THA gave them to the national security apparatus. The THA buy ambulance to them already, buy vehicles to them already, and you know what happens every single time? Somebody will say, well, they need to send them down in Trinidad, and they will go down to Trinidad, never return to Tobago, and be used elsewhere in the country, but not in Tobago, that actually spending money for them. That has been the history. And so because we don't have any authority, we can call up the Chief of Defense Staff and tell him that a vehicle we give to national security, he can't take it in Trinidad, we'll be out of place. We don't have that legal right. But if we have an MOU establishing what we should be doing for national security, how we'll be doing it, what cost, and who will be bearing that cost, then we could have a framework by which the investment made in national security on the island of Tobago remains for the benefit of the people of Tobago. Here in Tobago, we also have another problem. And I don't want Tobagonians to think for a second that the only part of the solution is just in treating with the spend on assets for national security. Because in our communities, we also have some responsibility that I'm not certain people are taking seriously, or at least not serious enough. We saw that our first murder for the year was a high school student. And sometimes we think as policymakers that the best response to crime is to just provide everything for free and they will stop crime. The statistics show that they're stopping crime no way about. Here we have a student that has free education, free teacher, free access to free transportation, free meals, including meals in the first week and last week of school when the rest of the country not providing meals in school. Access to books free, access to computers and laptops in the schools for free, access to a school at every single July, August, guaranteed that millions will be spent on that establishment to keep it in a decent enough shape. In other Caribbean countries, students have to pay to do their own CXCs. It's free here. And notwithstanding how free that is, we still find young people who have all this access and freeness choosing a life of crime. Which means that as policymakers, we have to do more. We have to do more than simply provide freeness. We have to do more than that. We have to find a way to encourage people in our communities, to actually understand that they have a role, that they have a responsibility in keeping villages and families safe. I remember when I was a young child going to the library in Charlottesville, I used to hate to go to the library in Charlottesville because when I come off the bus or the maxi or out of the car, whatever, in Charlottesville, from the...
Remember, you have 5 minutes.
Sure. From the time I exit to the time I get to the library, every village I meet have to ask me who you be, who you belong to, what you're doing here. And I used to go home and complain and tell my parents and my grandparents, why are them people so fast? Why are they only asking me my business? But now as an adult, I have an appreciation for what communities can do to protect themselves and to protect each other. We have people in our communities who are choosing alliances and affiliation with syndicates, crime syndicates, from outside of the island over their community, over their families. And so a responsibility must be taken up by each individual in the community. It must be part and parcel of the fight against crime. I want to take this opportunity before I close, Madam Presiding Officer, to also indicate that with the increase in resources being placed at community development, youth development, and sport in particular, that is meant to recreate social cohesion. And in areas such as Golden Lane, that has no sporting facility, we are doing all we can to ensure that we will get one before the end of this calendar year. Sometime late last year, the THA received the deed for the lands at Culloden that were purchased. I think that's some 147 plus acres. That land came with approvals already for tourism-based development, but we took a decision as an executive that the first thing that must go there must be a playing field for the community as a way of rallying the young people in that area, where we are in fact seeing a significant increase in the number of criminal activities. When we go to the minority leaders area in WIM, we have a facility that been constructed for the last 10 years, passed through about 6 different secretaries. We are insistent that that which they could not finish, we will finish and deliver to the people of that community. And so I want to urge and encourage the Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, and the Assistant Secretary, the Secretary of Education, those two in particular. I want to encourage you all to do all in your power on the social front. But while we are doing that, Madam Presiding Officer, we are saying that we should enter into an MOU with the Ministry of National Security so that we can solve these legal questions once and for all, and that the THA can properly continue to expend resources on national security, which is a central government business. And when I said to the central government, through the Prime Minister, mind your business, that's what I meant. Whatever is yours on the 6th schedule, mind it. And you're not even minding it properly. Mind it. So when I tell you mind your business, 6th schedule is your business, mind it. Mind your business. Our business is not 5th schedule, but your business is 6th schedule, mind it. Trying to determine when the THA calls an election, when that's the business of this house. Correct. But 6th schedule, which is your business, you're not minding. Exactly. Fast and out of place, mind your business. Yes. Finally, Madam Presiding Officer, allow me to end by acknowledging a visitor in our presence. On my way here, I received a phone call indicating that the Israeli ambassador to Panama and the Caribbean was an island and was approaching my office. It was not a visit I expected. Certainly this is a surprise. I am on public record concerning my position where Palestine and what's happening there is concerned, and that does not change one bit. But certainly Tobago being a place for hospitality, I wish to acknowledge the presence of the Israeli ambassador who is in the house. And I wish that at some point during this sitting that I will have to step outside so that at least I do the honorable thing and greet the ambassador, the Israeli ambassador, and then return. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. I so beg to move.